I need some shade here in 2024. What do I get? What should I be worried about? And who should I get it from? From awnings to gazebos to sunrooms to pergolas to roofs to screen porches, the options are limitless, and there are things to be worried about in each of those. We're gonna cover pricing, we're gonna cover what should probably fit you, we're gonna break it down, and we're gonna give you an idea of what might fit your scenario in your backyard. Hi, my name is Harrison. My family and I started originally as contractors in the outdoor living space. We've been there for over a decade, and we eventually made our own product that we sell to you, the homeowner, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, I wanna talk about all the different options that you have and what best fits what you need. We're gonna break that down into multiple different categories. The first is gonna be sun only. All you want is overhead sun protection. You don't care about the sides, you don't care about anything else. We'll get into that. The second one is going to be sun and rain protection. The third one's gonna be sun, rain, and possibly some sort of bug control or side shade ability. One of those two things needs to be solved there. The fourth thing is gonna be entirely sheltered from the environment. Physically sheltered, that isn't gonna include climate control. And the fifth one is gonna be an extension of your home. You're looking for a warmed space that matches your home environment. And as I said, the prices associated with each of the products in each of those categories. I also have chapters down below if you wanna skip to what section you know fits what you want, but most customers should listen to all of this because what you think you want may not be exactly what you want. The first category is sun only. All you're looking is for overhead sun shade control. And there's a lot of different ways you can solve that problem. The least expensive option is a sun sail. And you see these all the time. It's basically a piece of fabric that uses steel cable that is anchored to multiple different points that allows you to have that sort of sun protection. The issues with this product are obviously going to be the fact that when it rains, you should obviously take it down. Otherwise, you're gonna have pooling. It's gonna cause extra stress on those steel cable ties. But the thing you need to look out for on a sun sail, because it can be the right fit for certain people, is gonna be rain control. Obviously in the snow, in the winter, you're gonna have to take it down. And then you need to know what wind loads it can handle. Because obviously the way you install it, even if you anchor it to your house, you could easily pull that lag out. So knowing exactly how to install it to keep it from pulling off your house or breaking you or your house. I had a horror story of someone that it snapped in a storm while they were out there trying to fix it. Not good. So either way, but you can worry about that. The other thing to mention here is gonna be fabric quality. The lower priced versions of these sun sails are just gonna be a fabric that lasts for maybe a year, maybe two. It's gonna start fading, it's gonna start falling apart, you're gonna have the stitching wear out. All that sort of stuff happens. Typically those cheaper ones are woven with polyester, which sun rots, and so it falls apart at the seams relatively quickly, especially if it's exposed to a lot of sunlight. So you just need to know that is one of the caveats. Sun sails are typically anywhere between $300 to about $3,000, depending on fabric quality and size. I would highly recommend to move higher up in that price tier just for better fabric that's gonna last a bit longer, unless you plan on just doing a quick temporary fix, in which case some people can get a less expensive version of it. And then obviously know your wind and your rain that you get in the area and if that's gonna cause any issues with the sun sail. Second one's just gonna be an umbrella, and that's $200 to $2,000. There are really expensive umbrellas out there that you can tilt and cover any space. These work. The problem there is typically you have to move them. They're heavy to move, especially the big ones. So they're a pain to move, but you can move them around. The nice thing about umbrellas is they can give you side control. So if you tilt them, the expensive ones, you can tilt them sideways to give you some sun protection when the sun is setting. Most people eat dinner outside, and that's in the evening when the sun is setting. So overhead shade doesn't help you a whole lot. And one of the nice things about expensive umbrellas is you can tilt them to the side to protect yourself in the evening. These, as I said, are a good fit for some people, but again, it's only sun protection and it's gonna be limited range at that. Issue obviously with umbrellas is gonna be the same thing as before. Mainly here is gonna be wind load and having to move it around. Those are the two caveats you need to be aware of on umbrellas. Fabric obviously is important, but more important is maneuverability and plans long-term. Third option is gonna be retractable awnings. These are anywhere between $3,000 to $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Retractable awnings are rated based on their fabric quality and based on their strength. It's the same thing with the sun sail, where you can get less expensive versions of an awning or less expensive versions of anything in life, but the less expensive ones are gonna have two main fail points. One, these things break in high wind loads. So if you have a windy environment, or if you're in a new development area like we have here in Indiana, where it's a wind tunnel in the backyard, just know you're probably not gonna be able to use the retractable awning very much at all because it's always gonna be windy. Even with a wind sensor, that just brings the awning in. It doesn't really solve the issue of the fact that it's just gonna be bouncing and scaring you. If you get a less expensive version, the fabric's gonna wear out a lot faster, so just be aware of that. And also, you run the risk of them breaking. We used to sell awnings for years, so I know all about them. The less expensive versions we saw many times would break, especially the ones that are like $500 to $1,000 from Home Depot or Amazon or Wayfair. Those always broke in like 6 months, if not less. So just a warning, get a little bit more expensive one for sure, and then be aware that you're not gonna be able to use it when it's very windy out. Option number 4, if you're just looking for overhead cover from the sun, is just a pergola. Now the issue with a wood pergola obviously is gonna be the fact that the slats don't give you total coverage. You know, it's gonna let some sunlight through, so they don't really solve that issue unless you put vines on them. Some people try to do the fabric covers on the top, but I can tell you from experience that those typically don't solve the issue long-term because again, water pools in it, water falls through, it drips through. It also has an issue with wind load. You've got a flat surface, so essentially a sail right on top of your pergola, which can easily break. Research those thoroughly, but actually the fact that those sails over pergolas doesn't really help that much or solve the issue is why our family got into aluminum or motorized pergolas that open and close, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Obviously, the other issue with wood or vinyl pergolas is that the vinyl will warp over time, and then it will also crack. It'll yellow and crack. So just know vinyl pergolas have a lifespan on them. Wood pergolas also have a lifespan in the fact that the posts will rot off where they meet the concrete. So you should probably get about 8 to 10 years out of a wood pergola, but you will have to stain or paint it basically every year to keep it from looking like a desaturated, sun-bleached version of a pergola. So just keep that in mind. Also, maintenance is a big part of a wood pergola if you want that look. So let's say you're looking for just sun and rain coverage. You don't care about the sides, you don't care about bugs. A gazebo is probably your best option, just an aluminum roof over your head. These are the least expensive option. I probably would get one with wood posts, not the aluminum post ones, because when you're in the lower price ranges, the only way you get aluminum cheaper is by buying less poundage of it. Less poundage means less strength. So just keep in mind, if you're buying a gazebo that's made out of aluminum entirely, there are gonna be a lot of corners cut if it's around $3,000 because you're probably gonna end up with a structural unit that is not very structural. It's just like those tents you used to put up for like soccer fields. I don't know if they still do that, but like sporting events, they put those tents up. Those are all made out of steel and aluminum, but the issue there is gonna be like, yeah, but it was cheap. So obviously there's a way to make it less expensive. You should always know that. Obviously, you buy what you get. That kind of comes with it. Gazebos are typically anywhere between 2 to 5, 6,000, depending on where you're buying them from. Again, I would go for a wood post version of it as much as possible. It doesn't have to be cedar, but like a wood post version of it, and then try and get the aluminum roof on top. They tend to be pretty well priced. You can't have leak issues on gazebos if they're lower priced because the sealant isn't as nice. But all that stuff kind of factored in. A gazebo is probably your best option. You just have a few things to watch out for on gazebos, especially in the lower price tier. Option number 3 is gonna be kind of the sweet spot, in my opinion, for most people, which is sun, rain protection, some bug protection as well, and side shade protection. So the wood roof, obviously the issue there is going to be what your current roof line looks like. If you're attaching it to your house and you're trying to do a gable roof, you've got a lot of extra roof line you need to pay for. You also have to put the siding in underneath. You definitely should get it insulated to keep that heat from the shingles from warming up and basically transferring that radiant heat all the way down on you. So make sure that when you buy a covered porch, if you're gonna buy just a normal, porch roof, get it insulated. Do not get one that's not insulated. Never do that because you'll end up just hot underneath. But either way, roof line is a really important thing to know here. Also drainage. You're gonna have to shingle it, so you have to match your shingles with what you have currently. You're gonna have different roof line things you have to do. It's major construction. It will take a long time to build, but if that's the aesthetic you're looking for, then that's kind of your only option. Again, like any cover that doesn't have permanent walls, rain can still come in from the sides, so just be aware of that, but that is an option. And then a screen porch is essentially an extension of that same option, meaning that it's a covered porch with wood posts thrown up, some slats and some screens mounted. It's not that much more difficult or complicated than a typical covered porch. It's just more material and more time. So a covered porch is probably gonna be, I would say $20,000 to $30,000 for a normal sized covered porch. That's just common. Most people are surprised by that, but that is really the price that you're typically gonna pay. If you're paying less than that, you should probably dive into why exactly you're paying less than that, but it's material, and then the company obviously needs to make some money in order to pay their people. So that's kind of where that price comes from. A screen porch is typically gonna be more like the $30,000 to $40,000 range for a relatively good size one. And I'm talking like 12 by 14, roughly, in terms of sizing. That is probably what you're looking at in terms of price for a screen porch. Again, it can be the right option for some people. Just know when you have those screens on there, wind will still come in, dust will still come in, pollen will still come in. You're not having a 3-season glass room. It will still get very dirty in that room. Just manage your expectations if you want a screen porch or a covered porch. My favorite option within all of these is an aluminum pergola. Now I'm biased. My family and I created our own aluminum pergola. We sell direct to consumer to you guys, but we created it because it was the best value option for a shade product, meaning you can buy one for about $12,000 in the same size you can for a screen porch. So you can cover the space, you get adjustability, meaning you can open it and close it. By opening it, you let light back in the house. If you've ever, seen a cloudy day that your living room gets a lot darker, that's what happens when you build something over where your windows or your back door extend into, you darken the room adjacent to it. An example, we had a day where my pergola was closed at my house because mine is on my home. My wife commented on how dark the room was. When we opened it up, we finally had some light back in the living room. So the nice thing about a louvered product is you can open it, let the light in, and then you can enjoy the space. I would recommend anything from about $12,000 for a 12 by 14 up to maybe $30,000. The big thing you need to watch out for in this space is the weight of the product. You need to know what you're buying. So if you're buying something that is a starry, S-T-A-R-R-Y, starry pergola or Mirador pergola, these are gonna be about 300-pound pergolas. They don't have that good of wind protection. They don't have that good wind load. They're designed mainly as a product that is at a good price point that people typically buy. But if I were you, I would just buy a gazebo versus something like that, because these are manufactured with such thin aluminum sidewalls that the structural support doesn't really allow you to use it, 3-4 years from now. Now our product is designed to basically last for generations. You should be able to build it, hand the house down to your kids, and it'll still be standing and looking the same as it did when you put it up. An adjustable roof compensates for roof pitch, so you don't have to worry about if you have, however your roof line looks. The flat adjustable roof or adjustable pergola allows you to basically build it anywhere on any roof in any building. It doesn't darken the house, it keeps the rain out, and you can attach either full screen walls on it, or you can attach drop screens on it that drop down and raise up depending on when you want to use them. All that kind of comes with the environment. Again, as I said, I would have a company come out and quote you one for a custom installation, but I would use a commercial grade version of this, no matter where you buy it from, not one of those brands that says it's made or designed in Europe, but all it is a Chinese or Turkish pergola that's been rebranded and sold with a whole lot of marketing. So just keep that in mind. Option number 4 is an entirely sheltered section. That's a 3-season room. There's not really other options if that's what you're looking for and you don't want to heat or cool it. You're looking at glass walls on a covered porch. You could do glass walls on our adjustable pergola. We don't sell it, but you could do that. But you're basically looking at trying to keep most of, if not all of the environment out, in which case a covered porch with glass walls is kind of your only option. Here you still want to make sure that your pad is insulated so you don't get moisture coming through. It also allows you to eventually make it a 4-season room if you want to. You just have to switch out the glass. So insulate your ceiling, insulate your slab, make sure you have a water vapor barrier in that slab as they pour it, or they could do an elevated deck surface that's also insulated. But these are things you need to have: vapor barrier, insulation in the ground, and then eventually if you want to make it a 4-season room, you can. Which leads us into our last category, which is a 4-season room, also known as basically an extension of the home. Now the 3-season room is typically going to be about $30,000 to $60,000. They're not that much cheaper than a 4-season room. Really, the only thing you're missing if you buy a good 3-season room is that the glass is a little bit thinner, and so it's not as high quality, and so you get a little cheaper there, and you're not buying an HVAC system, you're not heating and cooling that space. That's basically it. A 4-season room should be built the same way. Same insulated and water vapor slab or insulated and water vapor in the deck system. Same insulation in the ceiling, except now you have better glass in there that's like a 2-pane or some sort of insulated glass pack, and you have an HVAC or some sort of heating and cooling built in the room. Once you have all that, a sunroom, a 4-season room is probably gonna be realistically anywhere between $40,000 to $70,000. Most of the time when we used to build 4-seasons rooms, it was anywhere between 60-ish, 50 to 60,000 for most builds, because you want a relatively normal size room. And when you start actually factoring everything in, it gets expensive. So just know, if you want a sunroom, that's kind of what you're looking for. Downsides to a sunroom is that, especially if you attach it to the home and you don't have a separate heating and cooling area, even if you do, it'll almost always be hot in the summer and cold in the winter, because that glass is constantly losing heat. So just know that's gonna be the least well-insulated room in the entire house. But sunrooms can look really pretty, and so people are willing to take that disadvantage. So that's pretty much it. Of the spectrum, you can decide what works best for you. If you're looking at an adjustable or aluminum roof that opens and closes, you can reach out to us. You can watch more of our videos. You can see exactly if that's the right fit for what you're looking for in a product. We like to think it fits almost everyone and what they need. If they don't want a sunroom, ours kind of gives you the baseline that allows you to expand it to almost a full 3-season room, which allows a lot of people adjustability to make up their mind and change their mind over time. But if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.